Hi everyone, it's Lisle Wilkerson here on Alchemado. See you soon.
So hi guys, it's Alchemado again, here with a special guest. She is a very well-known voice actress for many video game titles. She is Nina Williams and Christie Monteiro from Tekken, Sarah Bryant from Virtual Fighter, Gina from Crazy Taxi, and a few characters from the series Shenmue. She's also in a movie called Lost in Translation. She's also a correspondent for Hollywood movie award shows like the Grammys and the Academy Awards. And she also has a podcast called The Misadventures of the Blonde Geisha. Is that right?
Correcto mundo.
Great. Okay. So please welcome Lisle Wilkerson.
Hello everybody.
Thank you very much for
Yeah,
being with me
thank
today.
you Al. It's good to see you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. So I know you're well-traveled in the con scene. Is this your first Fanime?
This is.
Oh, okay, this is mine too.
Yay! I love it. I'm having a great time so far.
Great. How's the atmosphere?
It's really good. I was noticing today that I like the fact that there are so many group cosplayers. I feel like I'm seeing more of them at this con than I've seen in a while.
Okay.
You know, where they each have like one theme and then they all come up with various characters for that, you know, whatever. It's like Pokemon or DBZ or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, like, so it's been really cool to see all the group cosplays and everything, and just a great vibe. Like, I've been really enjoying myself here so far, yeah.
Great. And then their motto is actually for the fans and by the fans. Do you get that kind of feeling?
Yeah, I do, definitely. Yeah. I feel like I mean, at the end of the day, I think that, you know, cons are all about making the fans happy, and I see a lot of smiling faces, so
good.
I'm thinking people are pretty happy. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So how did you get in this? How did you get started in voice acting?
Well, first of all, I grew up in Tokyo, so I moved there when I was 5 with my family, and at the age of 19, I got into radio, and at first I was staffing one of the, it was like the morning show for a radio station called J-Wave. I was with that show, and that kind of led to me getting into radio as a DJ, and from that, you know, when your voice is on the radio, a lot of times people will call you up and be like, hey, can you do this commercial for me? Or, you know, whatever. So that led to me doing a lot of voice work. And so I was signed up with a few agencies and then one called about me doing video games. And yeah, and then I just started doing a lot of that as well. So it kind of really happened organically.
Okay.
But yeah, I love it. It's one of my favorite things, obviously, for voice acting. So.
Okay. Well, what's the most enjoyable part of it?
Well, just because I think I have done so many fighting characters, I just love the empowerment
I see.
of, you know, like, I love watching, like, Nina Williams, you know, like, you know, beating people up, you know, excuse me, but, you know, and I really enjoy the whole physicality of it as well. It's a lot of fun, but it's just, actually, it's a great stress release for me, because, you know, you're yelling a lot.
And stuff in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, and it's just a lot of fun. I think it's a great addition to like a lot of the other, you know, like the radio work I was doing, what have you. But yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Okay, great. So how has voice acting made a positive effect in your lifestyle?
How has it made? It is, I feel like it is my lifestyle, kind of. I
okay.
mean, like, it's such a big part of me. Like, I think for me, my work, and also I've made so many wonderful friends. Like, you know, and I know we're going to probably be touching on Shenmue later on. But I have just made so many wonderful friendships through voice acting and through whether it be like voice actors or agents that I'm very good friends with. And even with voice actors, like I've worked a lot with some good, with Japanese voice actors, and also over here as well. And so I think the friendship aspect of it has just been really amazing for me. But then also, at the end of the day, just to be able to be a part of a project that can actually move people or just impress something onto people, it can't get any better than that. It's just incredible. And then to be able to go to the conventions as well and meet the people that have really enjoyed games that you were a part of, So I think that to this day, is like incredibly humbling, So yeah, I've really, really enjoyed that.
Okay, great. So has voice acting changed over the years? I know you spent most of your life in Japan, so I don't know if you know anything about voice acting here in the States or anything.
It has. It's changed a lot. I think that in Japan it hasn't changed as much, but here in the States it's changed dramatically. I feel that, first of all, the piece of pie, you're seeing a lot more. Say, for instance, like an Eddie Murphy or like a Beyonce or like Ellen, all these big names are coming into that voice acting field, and it used to be a bit more separate, right? Which, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just, but there's only a certain amount of jobs, but also I think it's become a lot more accessible to a lot of people because nowadays with technology, there are a lot of ways that you can actually audition and send your audition via, internet, or you can just send it online, or and a lot of voice actors now. In fact, most of the people that I know have home studios. So a lot of times now what they do, I think before it used to be where you would go to a studio and you would audition. The client would maybe be there. Sometimes the client would have someone there for the audition, on their behalf. But you would be told what you would need to do for the audition. But nowadays here in the States, they will send you like the list of what they want you to read off, and you will make a specialized demo just for that video game or just for that anime audition or what have you. And so that's kind of the way it's done now here. In Japan, it's still very old school. So
face to face.
Yeah, so you still go. And one of the reasons being because the luxury of having a home studio is a luxury. It doesn't happen very much. I mean, it's too expensive in Japan. So they still like to have you come to a specific studio and do the audition there. And so I think that would probably be one of the biggest differences. But voice act, the industry has definitely changed quite a bit.
Okay. If you didn't get into radio or voice acting, what do you think you'd be doing right now?
I have no idea. When I was in high school, because I was very much of a sports, athletics was really what ruled my world. I was very, very, very much into sports.
Volleyball, right?
Yes, volleyball. And so when I was graduating from high school, I actually thought I might be a phys ed teacher or something like that, However, I definitely wouldn't have made a good phys ed teacher, so I'm very glad that I'm not doing that. But that was originally what I thought. And then I came to the States for college, and I was like, well, maybe international business of some kind. But not really ever thinking I would be in the entertainment business. But then I had a few chance meetings and opportunities that came up, and that led to me, getting into the entertainment business. And music has always been such a driving force in my life since I was like 3. So when I entered the world of radio, I was like, oh, this is exactly where I want to be, So, and of course it wasn't easy. I had to I had to really learn a lot about the industry and just kind of like learn my groove and my strengths, my weaknesses. It was very much of a learning process, but because I loved it, it didn't feel like, work, really.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. I mean, do you have any advice for people who would want to be in voice acting? Do you think it's pretty difficult still to get in?
Yeah, I do think it's definitely a difficult industry to get into, and one of the things I always tell people, because, we get this question, excuse me, we get this question a lot, and I think one of the things I tell them is, when you don't get into voice acting, and this is the same, I think, with any aspect of the entertainment industry as well, or maybe a lot of other fields too, but I feel that if you can only imagine yourself doing that, then I think you should do it and you should fully commit. But you should also understand that it's a journey, as everything is. So most likely it will take a long time before you reap any benefits, but as long as you are very confident in what you're doing and you know this is your path, you'll just keep going and you'll just figure it out and make it work. But if you're doing it just because it's like, oh yeah, it's kind of cool, then no, it's going to be a very tough ride.
Yeah,
So,
I can see that.
and my thing is too, I have, and you can talk to probably any other voice actor as well, and also the same thing, that it's not always, it's not always coming up roses, there's a lot of really rough areas that you have to go through, patches, what have you, but at the end of the day, I would not change what I'm doing. So for me, I am absolutely thankful for my path, the way I've gone, and my journey, whatever, yeah.
Cool, right. And so let's get into Shenmue. It is one of my favorite games of all time.
Awesome.
So, how did you get involved with Shenmue 2?
Excuse me. That was actually through an audition. So there were a few agencies that had auditions for that game, and I went in.
This was in Japan? Okay.
Yeah. And the auditions were held in Sega. I did a lot of work for Sega in Japan. I felt like I would go there at least once a month or something. It was crazy. And great studio. Like they had, I probably felt the most at home because all the other, like Namco Bandai, and it was always we would rent a studio. But with Sega, always go to the Sega studios.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so, and that would usually be from my radio station, because we lived near an area called, the radio station was an area called Shinagawa. And so from there it would be like about an hour by train. So I'd have to commute out, go, but then spend all day there. But anyway, so we did the auditions actually at the Sega Studios, and I read for quite a few parts, and then I was asked to do Xiuying and Joy and Yuan.
Right.
And at that time, we were recording in the fall. I believe it was like the fall, winter, I want to say. And it was kind of a brutal schedule for me because I was also doing a radio show, like a Monday through Friday show.
Oh, wow.
So I would do the show, and then I would go from there to record. And I just remember one time I showed up at the studio, and I could feel a bit of a cold coming on, but I was like, I can tough it out and I can make it work, And then I got into the studio and we were getting ready to start, and they're like, Lisa-san, go home.
Oh, wow.
It's the first time, because I mean, like I said, I was mentioning to you earlier, I was in cheerleading for years, so I know how to project the voice, and I know how to, and also the radio, I've done it for many, many years, so I was completely confident that I'd be able to figure it out, but they're like, nope, you're off just a little bit, go home. It's like, dang it. Okay. But it was a wonderful, wonderful time. I remember Corey came in from, he was in from the States, and there were a few sessions where we would work together, and he was great. He was really wonderful to work with, and it was kind of, I almost want to say it was almost like a little bit of a family kind of feel, because two of the other voice actors that were in it, Eric Kelso and Paul Lucas, are also very good friends of mine. We've done a lot of work together in other projects.
Right.
So they were also in Shenmue, and so we got to work together with them. And yeah, it was a really wonderful experience.
Okay. So how are you involved in the new game that's coming out, Shenmue 3?
Well, I have not been asked officially yet.
Oh, okay.
Fingers crossed.
Well, promote yourself.
Yes. However, I mean, I'm very involved in the Shenmue community.
Okay.
So, like all the Shenmue fan sites and pages, and I'm very involved in that. And so, Corey, Eric, and Paul and I have done quite a few interviews as well about Shenmue, especially after the Kickstarter.
Right.
And I've gone to a few. Like last year, I went to a Sega con, so it was like a Sega fan con, and we had a Shenmue panel.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so it was me. I was the only one that was there, and then we brought everyone else in through Skype, and it was a lot of fun. But absolutely hoping to be a part of it. Right now, I believe still that Corey is the only one confirmed, and so hopefully, though, we'll be able to be a part of it, because it would be great to be a part of Shenmue.
Right. Okay. And with the Kickstarter, I mean, what did you think of doing that as a Kickstarter?
Well, I think it's I'm so happy that he did that, and I think that, especially for
the fans
me,
are happy too.
Oh, I know. And the whole thing is, like, it was just, no, it was really amazing. It was an amazing, amazing time. And I think that, ever since Shenmue 2 came out, I would always get, like messages to Facebook or like, my website, and people would, and then when I moved to the States, exactly, when is Shenmue 3 coming out? And I'm like, I'm hired talent. Like, I don't know anything. We have no power. And it was just so I knew that there was a very loyal fan base, and that there were a lot of people. But to me, like, 14 years that you guys waited, and you still kept the momentum going, and you kept I mean, to me that is incredible, So when E3, when they made that announcement, I remember that I was in LA at the time, just finished doing an interpreting job. I got home, like, my feet were tired, I was tired, my brain was tired from interpreting, and I put my phone down for a few minutes, and then I picked it back up, and they were like, Shenmue Kickstarter, it's just like all these Facebook like notifications and everything, and I was like, what? And so I started following it, because I just, even I got emotional, because I thought, oh my gosh, like, you guys have been waiting for so many years. And I will say that Kickstarter is, knowing the Japanese culture so well, like, to do something like that, I understand that for the Japanese industry, they don't look, a lot of times they don't look favorably upon something like that.
Right.
So I know that it took him, like, I know that Yu Suzuki-san was thinking about it for a very long time. Right. And, people be like, just do it, but I do also know that it takes a lot more than that in the Japanese entertainment industry. Yeah. So, but I'm so glad that he did, and I know that the only reason that he's doing 3 is because you guys wanted it so badly, and he felt that responsibility and accountability to put it out. He was like, the story isn't finished, so you guys need to have that.
Well, it's not a spoiler, but it doesn't end.
Yeah.
So I think part of it is like, end it,
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So, you're also a correspondent for the Academy Awards and do a lot of
like Golden Globes and Emmys.
So
and
how's
Grammys.
that? How did you get into that kind of field?
Well, that kind of came from even when I was in Japan, because I was in radio, so I did a lot of work with like the Grammys, and I actually worked with a subtitle team in Japan for about 10 years. I helped, so it was because the Grammys and the Academy Awards are both broadcast on a satellite TV station called Wow Network.
Cable,
Yes, cable. And so I've done so much work with them. So when I moved to the States, they asked me if I could do the red carpet for them. And so I've done quite a bit of that. And just because the red carpet, a lot of people think of it as like a really glamorous thing, but in reality, like you're given this much room, like on the red carpet, right? And it's usually someone doing lighting, and then the camera, and then maybe a director. So it's like 4 of you in this little space. And also, you're international media, so you have to wrangle your own interviews.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so if, say for instance, George Clooney goes by, I have to get him to come over. Yeah, so I have to do anything and everything. I have to, swallow my pride and just put myself out there. And you're only given, and even maybe at the most, you're given a minute and a half with, so it's a very, very, very quick window of time. So you need to be able to flip back and forth very quickly with Japanese and English. So, and because I come from radio where it's the same kind of energy, so it was perfect, and I love doing it, and I've had a great time. I've interviewed a lot of people. I've had a lot. My favorite red carpet event to work, though, is the Golden Globes. And one reason is because it has both TV and movies, but also because at the Golden Globes, it's the only event where they drink and eat. So Moe, which is the sponsor, one of the big sponsors for the red carpet, they start giving little Moe bottles to the talent at the very beginning of the red carpet. And everyone, of course, especially the women, have been dieting for years and years to get into their dress, so they're like, woo, kind of loopty-loopty, So with the Golden Globes, you never know what you're going to get, and it's so much fun. I've had some amazing moments, like with Glenn Close. There was this one thing where she was nominated for Damages. It was the last. It was like 3 years ago, I think, and I loved that TV series, and so. I got her to come over, and we were doing like a little interview, and she was nominated. We're talking about that, and then she kind of just takes off. But then all of a sudden we see her kind of look back, and I'm like, why is she looking back here? She makes a U-turn. She comes back, and she starts singing in Japanese.
Oh, really? Wow.
And the director is behind me. He's like. Because he was calling me Richa, and he's like, Richa, what is she doing? What is she doing? I'm like, I don't know. Why are you asking me? And then we're all just like, what's going on here? Oh my gosh! And she's doing like this dance and everything, and then I'm like, Glenn, what did you just do? She's like, so I was in the choir in college, and I went to Waseda University, and that is their fight song. And I still remember it. I was like,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I was like, the glory of Moe. It can bring out a lot of things in lots of people. It's great. But yeah, so, we've had a lot of really fun moments like that doing that kind of work. Yeah.
Sounds good. So you spent most of your life in Japan. Can you tell me how it was like growing up there as a foreigner or as a...
Well, obviously it was very different. I stood out a little bit.
Just a little,
just a little bit. I think there were a lot of really wonderful things about it, where, as in the international community, like, because I went to international school and everything, so my friends, the people that I went to school with, we were all experiencing a very unique experience because we were coming from we call ourselves third culture kids because we come from one culture, we're living in another culture, and so we put them together and make our own culture.
So it's not like a half and half; it's actually a third one.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
I get it.
Yeah, and so I think that the third culture kid experience is extremely unique, and so to this day, I keep in touch with a lot of people from high school, and that was a long time ago.
Right.
You know, so I think that, and I do think as well that when you're growing up in another culture, it toughens you a little bit in a good way, you know, because you're constantly aware that you don't fit in, and you know, it's always like no matter how good my Japanese is, I will go to a Starbucks or be on the train. It's like, ooh, gaiji, you know, like all day, every day, you know. So there, you become. I think, you are patient a lot more, you know, when you also, and you know how to deal with a lot of, you know, stuff. So I think it does toughen your character a little bit. But obviously, just the whole aspect of being able to be in another culture and learn another language, I think is a really wonderful thing. So I feel very blessed. Yeah, for sure.
That's good.
And I mean, you know, it is what it is. And I think that this is one reason that, you know, we all learn to kind of cope with that. We all figure out our own survival skills, you know, in Japan. Because it is such a insular culture. So, you know, but you know, it's at the end of the day, and I knew some people that would be like, you know, they complain about. I'd be like, hey, you know what? You're an adult. You don't like it? Go leave the playground. You know. So I think you know, and I just think that at the end of the day, life is kind of what you make it. You have to figure it out on your own, make fun or not have fun, whatever. Yeah.
Okay. So you recently moved here, maybe 2008?
Yes.
2008? Okay. So did you get any kind of like reverse culture shock?
Oh, so much.
So I'm sure you come back to Japan a lot as well, right?
I've gone back since then. Since 2008, I've gone back quite a few times, and but yeah, I've experienced a lot of reverse culture shock. Yeah, everything from just the whole speaking, like people speak a lot quicker here, and I was kind of like, you know, to just little things like I bow all the time, and so yeah, I'd be like, okay, and people are like, what are you doing? You're so weird.
No, I totally understand.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you have any other projects you want to talk about that you can talk about?
I do have a project. Actually, I have two projects that I'm going to be a part of, but I can't talk about them right now.
Okay.
One is live action. It's dubbing, Japanese, and I'm doing English for it. That's all I can say.
Okay.
Another thing
I'll look out for it.
and another thing is actually probably hoping still going to happen. We still don't know. Still going through the last parts of the phase, but I think it might be a TV show oriented thing that I'm doing. So yes, so I do have a few projects, but yes, I can't talk about it. I don't want to jinx one of them. So.
Knock on wood.
Hi everyone, it's Lisle Wilkerson here on Alchemado. I hope that you enjoyed the interview, and I look forward to hopefully, fingers crossed, being able to be a part of Shenmue 3. That's what we hope. And anyway, yes, you can always follow me on Facebook and Twitter if you have any questions about Japan, Japanese culture, voice acting, whatever. So thank you for joining me.